Welcome to another episode of Two Old Geeks Talking. Now on the World Wide Web.
Hydro. Oh. Hey, welcome to Two Old Geeks Talking. I'm Rob.
I'm Trace.
And today we're discussing
Labyrinth.
The Labyrinth, right.
So Labyrinth? Is that
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth?
Lab, like lab.
Labyrinth. I said Labyrinth. So it's Labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
You picked this topic.
I did pick this topic.
And I rewatched that movie.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad.
And I had, I guess, like a childhood drama. I had seen it before and blocked it completely out. And you made me relive that.
You're
welcome. all those songs and all that dialogue, and I'm not right anymore. It's going to take me a while to get over that. It's going to take me a while to I don't know why you would do that to me.
Because I love you.
But anyway, go ahead. Oh my gosh. Go ahead.
So, The Labyrinth, created by Jim Henson back in 1986, produced by George Lucas.
Yeah,
they had just throwing you some quick stats. They spent $25 million to make it and only got 34 back.
Yeah, and I mean, George. I always thought George Lucas's biggest failure, besides selling
Star Wars
to Disney,
right,
of all people, was like the holiday special. But I would rewatch that holiday special before I would rewatch Labyrinth.
Really?
Oh my gosh. That movie has to be nostalgic to you.
Did you ever watch like Sesame Street?
Yeah, I watched Sesame Street.
Muppet Show and stuff like that.
But I mean, and maybe if I showed it to my 5-year-old granddaughter Skylar, she would enjoy it. But I mean, for an adult, that was horrible, Robert. I mean,
it was directed.
Did you
kids.
Like lose your virginity while that movie was playing or something? Because there has to be some connection as to why you like that movie that goes beyond what's inside the movie.
Okay, we've discussed the movie. I had always been a fan of the movie because I watched it when I was younger. I introduced it to my children. My children introduced it to their friends. It was a pretty cool, fanciful movie and pretty slick because I was a big Jim Henson fan.
Yeah, you were always into ventriloquist dummies and puppets and stuff like that as a kid.
I loved the artistry of it all. And so that's where I became a fan of it. Now, that being said, I have rewatched it. And with age, my taste for it has changed. We'll go into that a little bit deeper here in a second. So anyway, the movie, when it first came out, it didn't do well. It didn't do well in theaters. And I don't think it...
I wonder why.
Well, I don't think it was the movie's fault. I mean, eventually it grew a fan base, right? I mean, there's a huge fan base for it.
Cancer never took off either, did it? Just never really got off the ground.
I think the reason it had a lot of other competition. Like the number one movie that came out the same time it did was Top Gun. They had only spent...
I recently watched that.
Yeah?
Do you want to talk about it?
Did that bring any childhood drama back?
No, it was good. That was still good. It was still good.
Did you get a little woody when you seen the volleyball?
No, I didn't. Okay. That's not my cup of tea.
So anyway, they had only spent $8 million and they got $173 or $74 million in return. So they, not only was it more of a popular movie, but it actually done better in the box office. So it wasn't until the years had passed. But this movie was supposed to have been a sequel to Dark Crystal. Had you seen Dark Crystal?
Yeah, I seen it a long time ago. I haven't seen it recently.
There's no singing. I don't think there's any singing in that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it
recently. You'll be okay.
But I want to rewatch it, but now I'm kind of scared.
Well, it's not a sequel to the Dark Crystal. It was supposed to start out that way. Eventually, it was supposed to be Dark Crystal 25 years later. You know, Dark Crystal had come out 5 years before this, and Henson had got together with other people he'd worked with and said, hey, let's make a sequel.
Yeah.
And through script writing, it went from the two main characters to one female character. They eventually changed the female character's name to Sarah, and the whole movie took a whole different turn. And they didn't want to put in as much, I don't want to say effort as they did with Dark Crystal. I mean, Dark Crystal was like an ordeal to make.
Yeah.
I mean, giant sets and stuff like that. So they wanted to make a good movie, but not put forth so much to do it. So the cast, you had David Bowie as
which I mean,
Jareth.
I'm a David Bowie fan. I like his music.
Yeah, and you know, they had looked at other musicians to play Jareth, like Sting.
Yeah.
But if they had have gone with another,
nobody could twirl balls in their hand.
Actually,
like
he
David
couldn't
Bowie.
twirl balls either.
Okay.
No, there was a guy behind him who ran his arm behind him and was doing that. It really wasn't even David Bowie's arm.
That's unnatural.
Yeah, ain't it though? So anywho, no, I went to go look around and started looking for my drink. So anyway, if it wasn't for David Bowie's music and the lyrics he wrote, I don't think the movie would have been half as popular as it was. The music really made the movie. Although I know you're not a musical fan.
I like music. And I'm a big fan of good music.
Right.
But would you say those David Bowie songs were good? I mean, I like David Bowie, but
Yes.
But yeah, well, I mean, you know, opinions are like elbows. Everybody's got a couple.
All right. So the other cast members was Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, what did she go on to do? Because she seems familiar.
I don't know. Did she do that Fast Time at Richmond?
She might have. I mean,
don't
she
know.
looks really familiar.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, her character's name was Sarah Williams. Most people don't know that her last name was Williams. There was an actress, Sherry Weisler, and Brian Henson did Hoggle. She was a smaller person who was in the costume. And Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son, he did the animatronics of the mask and the voice.
Yeah.
And then there was another character named Ludo, and he was operated by a Ron Muck and a Bill Mills. Muck did the voice to Ludo. How did it go? Sarah, friend.
Let me ask you this: Did any of your daughters really like that movie?
Yeah, my oldest daughter. I think they both liked it, but my oldest daughter liked
it the most.
Yeah, she's the one that's recently. I'd say probably within the last couple of years, introduced it to some of her friends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they've actually used some of the characters and stuff in their Dungeons and Dragons role-playing games.
Oh really?
Yeah, the goblins and stuff like that. They've actually been inspired by the movie.
Inspired by the movie.
Inspired by the movie. So, a quick synopsis of the movie. If you look it up online, it says a 16-year-old Sarah was given 13 hours to rescue her brother Toby from the Labyrinth after he was kidnapped by the Goblin King when she wished him to be gone. Right?
Yeah.
So,
a lot of people criticize that they tried to build drama in the movie by putting a baby in peril. Mm-hmm. And, Jim Henson was really not happy with how the movie didn't perform well. All the way up until his dying days. His son had mentioned that the movie had kind of gained popularity since it was released.
Right.
Kind of become a cult classic. And not to everybody, but to some people.
To a lot of people.
And that kind of made Jim happy in the end of his days. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, there's a good thing.
Yeah.
So as Jared himself said, he says, you have 13 hours in which to solve the labyrinth before your baby brother becomes one of us forever. So basically, she takes off. We're starting into the movie here.
Yeah. So, I've already watched it. You don't tell me.
Well, I'm telling you all. Spoilers. Well, actually, okay.
Yeah, a subscriber of ours named Carla.
Okay.
She said,
hey, Carla.
She said that it was one of her kids' favorite movies.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't judge.
Well, you don't want your kid to watch this episode, then.
Yeah, I don't judge.
So
I could see where a kid would like it.
yeah,
I could also see
it's made for kids.
I could also see where if you just played it in a loop at our prisons, how nobody would ever go back to prison. Whenever they got out released, they would be straight upright citizens and never go back to prison.
Yeah, every time
if you just played Labyrinth.
Yeah, every time they thought about doing something bad, just play Magic Dance, and they'd be like, "Oh."
So anyway,
all right. So she takes off after he tells her she has 13 hours. She gets to the front of the labyrinth. The first character she meets is Hoggle, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Looks like Keith Richards.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So let's see. So a lot of people thinks that this movie is kind of a coming of age movie. You know, like a young lady becoming a woman, overcoming her childhood thing, getting rid of her childhood belongings, overcoming her childhood fears, overcoming her misfortunes and difficulties in life to become a woman. A lot of people also look at this movie. A lot of people really delve into this movie, right?
Yeah, I probably couldn't be friends with those people.
So a lot of people think it's just a fanciful movie. You know, if you watch the movie after she gets into an argument with her mother and father, she goes to her room.
Yeah.
She lays down and they say, "Oh, well, it was all a dream. The whole thing was just a dream," because at the end she wakes up, movie's over.
Yeah. But it wasn't a dream.
No.
Because those little things pop up in her room.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I think the girl needed mental help. But anyway, the whole movie really starts out, you see her and she's in period clothes. You think it's like a medieval movie. She's speaking eloquently.
Yeah.
But then you come to find out that itself is a deception. She's
she's like she's reading from a book.
Right, and she's not aware of the upcoming weather. She's neglecting her obligations back at home. And when she gets reprimanded, she starts screaming, "Holy crap, I cannot tell you how many times I got tired of hearing her scream, 'It's not fair.' Holy crap, that was just like nails down a chalkboard." And she says it like 4 or 5 times in this movie. It's just, you just find out that she's like total opposite of what you think she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think this is like the whole synopsis of the movie. Like, we're going to make you think one thing, but the whole movie is actually about something else.
Yeah.
It's really confusing the first time you ever watch it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
I had forgotten like everything about it. Other than
purposely blocked it out.
Purposely blocked it out. And other than David Bowie was in it. So watching it, this was the second time I watched it. It was like the first time I watched it.
Well, in my opinion, you know, of course, Jareth, David Bowie's character, is supposed to be the villain.
Yeah, the Goblin King, right?
The Goblin King.
Yeah.
Well, I don't actually think that he was the villain. I think that she not only was the antagonist and the protagonist.
Yeah.
I think she was both. I think he only done what this all was her fantasy. So he was only doing what she was assuming he was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so he says, "Everything that you wanted, I've done. You asked for the child to be taken, I took him. I've moved the stars in the skies for you. I've rearranged time. I've turned the world upside down. Frankly, I'm totally exhausted from doing everything that you've asked me to do." So basically, this whole scenario has been her.
The whole moral of the story is you just can't please a woman.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So, let's see. So when she does meet Hoggle, she knows she's got to get through this labyrinth. And so he sees her little plastic bracelet and thinks it's jewels. And so she what's the word I'm looking for? She deceives him.
Yeah.
Sorry, too much.
She misleads.
Too much.
Yeah.
She misleads him.
Yeah.
gives him the jewels, never really intending to let him keep this crap to begin with, and manipulates him to get her through the labyrinth. Although he agrees that, I'll take you as far as I'm willing to go. Well, he does that. He does exactly what he agreed to do. And even when he does that, what does she do? She steals that shit back and takes it back from him. Now, through that part of the journey, Jareth says, hey, how you like my labyrinth so far? And she's like, smart ass. It's a piece of cake. And he's like, oh yeah? Well, here. Turns back the clock. You got less time now. And she screams, it's not fair. Well, then when she takes the crap from Hoggle, of course he screams, it's not fair. And you see this look come across her face. And people will say, oh, she's coming to the realization that life isn't fair for anybody and she's learning. No. I think she come to the realization that she's just as big an asshole as Jareth was being. And she's like, yeah. But did that make her say, I'm sorry, you're right. Here's your stuff back. Yeah. No, she continues to hang on to it to make him stay with her. So she manipulated him with this cheap piece of plastic to get to a certain point, and then uses that same manipulation to help her the rest of the way. So is she not being just as bad as Jareth, if not worse?
I think they were all bad.
Yeah, right. So
the writer, the director, the producer, I think they were all bad.
So in the end, after he says, I'm kind of jumping back and forth in this movie.
No, you're good.
In the end, after he said, I'm even willing to be your slave, she still goes on to try to destroy him by saying, you have no power over me. But to be honest, the only power was the power of the babe. What babe? The babe with the power. The babe had the babe had the power, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is
stop it, please.
Here, have another drink.
Okay.
This is going to be a long one. So basically, whoever had control of the child actually had control of the power. He never really had control over her. He only wanted the child so she could have control, and he wanted to hang on to the child, which she threw away in the first place.
That's very clear.
Yeah, thank you. So, I'm trying to keep this as quick and as short as I can. So,
when I look back at the movie, and I'm trying to reblock the movie from my mind.
I'm not helping Emma.
I could see where a kid would like it because it's very childish, and I could see where it would be nostalgic if your children liked it or your grandchildren liked it, and it was a shared experience. And but I can see where it didn't make. I can see where it didn't make a lot. I can see where it didn't make a lot of money.
Well, I mean,
to me, it was just a real simplistic story, and the fact that so many people have tried to interject into that simple story these complex themes just really kind of blows my mind. Because
that's really with any movie.
You can do that with any movie.
Lord of the Rings, Star Wars.
Don't be comparing Labyrinth to Lord of the Rings.
I'm not comparing them as in level of quality. I'm talking about there are so many people that have added so much stuff to the lore and to what it really
it has become a cult classic for some reason. I don't know why, but like Marvel did a comic series doing an adaptation of Labyrinth, and just recently they're getting ready to re-release a trade paperback with the collection of the comic adaptation into it. So it's still still out there in the culture, and you do hear about it periodically. Did they ever have action figures or?
Oh yeah. I've actually.
Did they?
So, believe it or not,
yeah,
I don't own any of the merchandise, but I have purchased quite a bit. I've bought a couple of the figures of Jareth for my daughter.
Yeah.
I bought her a recreation of Sarah's the book she was reading in the first, her little diary,
yeah.
her little storybook.
You're a good dad.
I try to be. I even bought her
Because if I was my daughter, I'd say, no, you can't have none of that.
I even bought her some of those mirrored balls so you can learn to, to spin them. Yeah. Yeah.
Did she learn to spin them, or did she have to have somebody come behind her?
I think she had to say something.
Okay. Oh, that's unnatural.
You know, it's always better when somebody else is playing with your balls. But anyway, let's see. Derp. I'm trying to look at my notes here. So, a recurring theme in this is you're taking everything for granted. Don't take everything for granted. And that is repeated multiple times. I don't know what they're trying to get. You know, like she can't find an opening when you're taking it for granted, or you're taking somebody else for granted. I think they tried to use that as a lesson, but I think it was kind of lost on her. I don't look at Sarah as a well-rounded person, and I don't think at the end of the movie she even gets there.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Let's see. No. I've kind of already jumped ahead of myself. So anyway, her and Hoggle ends up meeting what I call the wise guy, the old man in the garden with the bird on his head.
Yes.
And so he doesn't ask her name. He asks, "What's Hoggle? Who's this?" And she reaches over and says, "It's my friend." And Hoggle looks at her and is like, wait, you're the same bitch that was just head palming me just a minute ago, stealing my crap, and now you're calling me my friend? Well, she's actually trying to deceive the old man. And what's crazy, she ends up taking a ring off and giving it to the wise guy.
Yeah.
Which, again, you can see the puzzled look on Hoggle's face. He's like, you just took my crap, and now you're giving this guy who ain't gave you anything. But she's trying to still uphold that deception towards that guy. So when they take off from there, he's like, hey, do me a favor and tell me, why did you call me your friend? And you could hear the frustration in her voice. She's like, 'cause you are. Or I'm trying to remember. Yeah, that's what she said. She literally yells at him, 'cause you are.
Yeah.
So then as they get to the end of that part of the labyrinth, they hear this roaring. And, you know, Hoggle, he's a little guy. He's like 3 foot tall. And he lives in this place. And he's probably survived by staying the hell away from that kind of ruckus, right?
Yeah.
So he gets ready to split. Some senses come to his head, and he gets ready to take the hell off. And she's like, wait, I thought you were my friend. And he's like, this is the smartest thing in the whole movie. He's like, no. He says, Hoggle's friend. Basically, I'm the only friend I got. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But she's, again, trying to use something against him to manipulate him, like a friendship that isn't really there because she's already stole from him and manipulated him. And it's like, oh, Sarah's this great heroine, and I'm sitting here thinking, this little shit.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm just not sophisticated enough to understand the movie. It's like when I look at like a Picasso painting,
Right.
I think it looks like crap. I mean, it's just a bunch of geographical shapes and triangles and circles and ovals and oblongs and octagons, and to me it's crappy art. But somebody else would pay millions of dollars for a Picasso,
Right.
And talk about how wonderful the Picasso was and what the artist was trying to convey. And I just look at it, I'm thinking, yeah, that's crap art. Yeah, I wouldn't want it if you tried to give it to me.
Right.
You know, so
Well, what's getting me is
so I find it interesting, like in movies like Labyrinth, that some people are really passionate about those movies, and you know, I'm not saying they're wrong to be passionate about it, but for me, I just look at it like I do a Picasso painting. I'm looking at it like, yeah, I just don't get it.
What I'm having a hard time with is when I was younger and I looked at the movie, it was something special to me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And now as I've looked at it again as an older person, I don't see it in the same way. I see her.
Well, the movie didn't change. You changed.
Yeah, and it did.
And you know, it happened to me in a movie called Bubba the Redneck Werewolf. The first time I watched Bubba the Redneck Werewolf, I just laughed until I thought I was going to toss my cookies.
Right.
But then I recently rewatched it for the second time. I don't think I laughed one time. Bubba the Redneck Werewolf didn't change. I changed.
You changed.
I changed.
Yeah,
So
it'll be okay. So anyway, this movie was kind of loosely based off of a couple of other things. One of them being Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You had Dorothy, and they had Sarah. Dorothy was moved off to a fanciful world, Oz, and
I
Sarah
like that
went off
movie,
to Labyrinth.
Wizard
Right.
of Oz, and it could be nostalgic.
I can
because
tell
it was
you
my
why. Because Dorothy had her three companions, the Lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow. And in that, those characters also had arcs.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she assisted and helped them. She showed the Lion, hey, you're braver than you think. She showed the Tin Man, look what you've done. You have heart. Look at the Scarecrow. Look what you figured out. You're smarter than you think. You've got a brain. She assisted them as much as they assisted her.
Yes.
Sarah, on the other hand, only used her companions to further her goal, to get where she needed to
The
be.
way most people do in real life.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, so if we understand the moral of the story, the Wizard of Oz, what would be the moral of the story of Labyrinth?
See, I don't think they want you to. They want you to. Oh my God, I don't know. As a child, I would say to never give up, to keep striving, to reach your goals.
Yeah.
I'd say that's what they would be trying to tell the younger folks.
Okay.
The older folks, though, they'd look at it and just, in my opinion, would be like, okay, well, here's Ludo. He, he's Sarah friend. Well, this buck, his basis of friendship is so low, he makes friends with rocks.
Right.
I mean, so what's his basis of friendship? Sir Didymus.
That was the dude that rode the dog.
Rode the dog.
Yeah.
His only job is to guard the bridge, and you got to get his permission. And she comes up with smartly, well, you got to give him permission. And she's like, well, can I have your permission?
Yeah.
And he's like, he doesn't say, yes, you may. No, you can't. He looks at her and like, yeah? Like, he don't even know. Like, yeah. Like, he's questioning it. None of the characters are like strong characters, and I think it's because she's kind of making all these characters up as she goes.
Yeah.
This is what she needs them to be for her.
Now, I mean, I could see where the moral of the story would be, she hated and despised her little brother for keeping her to do what she wanted to do.
But did she dislike her little brother because?
But I mean, she was
jealous of
in the
him?
heat of the moment. No, I don't think
Because
jealousy.
he touched her belongings?
No, I think in the heat of the moment she wanted him gone, and then when he was gone, she realized how much he meant to her. And
I don't think he meant.
I'm just grasping here, brother. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't like the movie. I'm just grasping.
I think she feared that she might get in trouble.
Yeah.
But I don't think she was like upset that he was gone. I think she's like, oh shit, I screwed up. Oh, yeah. She created,
so you
like I said.
You think she was more worried about being in trouble for him?
She created her own misfortune. She asked for this shit to happen.
Don't we all?
And when it happened,
don't we all create our own misfortune?
She started backpedaling as fast as she could. So anyway, let's see. So Hoggle ends up giving her a peach. Right? We're going to jump to the peach part.
And the peach represents?
No, well, so look, here's the way I look at it. She bites into it.
I know what a peach represents.
I know what you think a peach represents. So
I was going to say fruit.
She gets the peach, she bites into it, and she looks at him and says, what have you done? Kind of like she had been manipulating the friendship to get what she wanted. Jareth manipulated the friendship between them two to slow her ass down. And she realizes, she comes to that realization, oh crap, I've had my own rules used against me. So she's whisked off and into her deepest fantasy, her deepest dream. She's dressed in the prettiest dress, big curls. The goblins are beautiful. There's a big, beautiful ball, and she's right exactly where she wants. She's dancing with a beautiful man. Every girl's fantasy. And then she sees that clock out of the corner of her eyes and sees the time's coming short. So, which what does she do? She busts her way out of there. She just turns violent, starts busting and crashing through to get her way out. She falls into a junkyard. I ain't even getting into that whole scenario. That's there's a whole big story there. But anyway, that actually happened like right outside the doors of the castle, right?
Yeah.
So they get to the castle. Now, Hoggle at this time is the only character that has shown any remorse. He's sitting there and he's upset with himself for his actions. And nobody else has shown any remorse for their actions. So anyway, they get to the castle. There's this big giant automaton or robot or whatever you want to call him. And then all of a sudden, here comes Hoggle. Jumps off the wall. This little bitty guy decapitates the robot, saves the day, gets thrown to the ground. And he ends up looking at her, and when he's laying there, and he's like, hey, I'm not asking you for your forgiveness, and I ain't ashamed of the thing I done. Basically, I think this heroic action that he didn't do for her. He didn't, although it saved her, and those other ones, I think he done it to redeem himself, because his best friend is himself, and I don't think he could have lived with himself because of his past actions. So he's doing this to basically, because he couldn't live with himself. So that's why I think he's saying, hey, I'm not asking for your forgiveness. You know, I don't care. So anyway, but see, here's the twist. They're like, oh, well, she grows because she forgives him and gives him back his stuff. It was his crap to belong. Oh, okay, I'm going to forgive you. Here's your crap back, crap that was rightfully yours anyway. So that's not forgiveness. I'm going to forgive you by giving you what's yours. Yeah. So they get in there, and there's a battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
All these little goblins.
With rocks that can move.
Well, what does she do?
Yeah.
She goes to a building and goes in and hides.
Telepathically controlled rocks.
Right.
Once I looked at the script and said telepathically controlled rocks.
You read the script?
No, I mean, if I was an actor and I was like, okay, yeah, no, that's okay, that's all right. Talking worm in British accent. No.
So anyway, yeah, she goes and hides. Leaves Sir Didymus outside surrounded. Hoggle uses the rocks to distract so she can get up to the castle. Can't get the door open by herself, so she relies on her friends to open up the door. Now here they've traveled all this way with her, just went through this battle, and she turns into them and says, nah, hold on. I got to do this on my own. And how do they respond? They're like, what? Like, what the hell did we just do all this shit for? And she's like, because that's how it's done. Once again, showing that she's the one writing the narrative, right?
Yeah.
This is how it's got to be done. They've risked life and limb, the bog of eternal stench, all this crap. And now they've automatically got to stop because she's got to get all the glory. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean,
so like, was Jim Henson writing this about an ex-wife or something?
I don't know. But this is the way I'm seeing it whenever I watch this time around. I'm like, okay.
You know what I think? So, sometimes I drink for fun,
right?
But it's really on necessity today. But anyway.
That was too big a drink.
Anyway.
So, when she finally gets inside, you have all these twisted and turning staircases. And you keep seeing Jareth pop up here and there. Of course, he's dressed in black because what his villains are supposed to be.
Yeah, they're supposed to wear black.
Supposed to be dressed in black.
It makes it easy for the rest of us.
Right. But
we got black on.
Right? Because we're the villains. But when they actually stop and start having a conversation, he's all in white.
Yeah.
He's in white, which represents...
They were trying to tell me something.
Right? So, which represents purity, which represents... innocence, and of course, when you're writing a movie, who's wearing the white? It's always the good guy, right?
Yeah.
But nobody realizes that for some reason his costume just changed into white. So he goes back into that spiel I talked about earlier, where he talks about, hey, everything I done for you. So anything,
That's pretty good, David Bowie.
Anyway, so he goes through all this stuff he's done, all this stuff he's willing to do. And she finally says, you know, you got no power over me. And I don't think that she literally won. I think he was so tired and exhausted that he just gave in and he just quit. Okay, fine, I'm done. And he just transforms. And what does he transform into? Is it a black raven? No. Is it back into a goblin? No. He turns into a white owl, again, representing wisdom. So he transforms and get the hell out of Dodge. Because he's smarter than she was anyway. So she goes back to her room. And there she is back in her room. And she's looking in the mirror and she sees Ludo. And Ludo's saying, "Bye, Sarah." Well, when she sees him in the reflection, she turns and he's not there. And it's only when she looks into the mirror and she's the center of focus that these people can be seen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm listening.
Right? So then she admits, I don't know why. I have no reason why I need you. But every now and again, just off and on, I'm going to need you. And they're like, oh, really? Well, okay, in that case, let's party. So they all start dancing,
Oh my gosh.
and the movie's over.
Oh my gosh.
So that is a quick look at how I've seen the movie.
Was it quick? I mean, let's be honest. Was it quick?
I don't know. What's the timer say down there? I think it's 30.
Yeah. So on a scale from 1 to 10, you would give this movie.
Okay. 20 years ago, I would have given it probably a good 9.
A 9? Okay.
Nowadays, I'll probably never watch it again.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing no more.
On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you give it now?
Now,
On a scale from 1 to 10. It was a 9 back in the day.
I am a super fan of Jim Henson.
Right. And a huge fan of puppetry. And
I enjoy David Bowie's music, and I think that's the best thing about the music. I think the only character in this whole movie that has any qualities whatsoever is Hoggle.
Yeah,
which is crazy because before I would have said my favorite character was Jareth or my favorite character was Ludo or this or that. But it seemed like Hoggle was the only one that had half a freaking brain.
So what would you give it on a scale from 1 to 10 in
So-
2024? Having rewatched it as not just an adult, as an old man.
I'd probably give it a 6.
A 6?
Right.
I would give it a 2. A 2. A 2. And but having said that, it's a classic. A lot of people love it. I'm happy for those people. And but it wasn't my cup of tea. And the fact that all that information you give me and all the thought that some people put into that movie.
Well, this is my thought. There's a lot more deeper in theories than mine.
Yeah. But just the fact that you would watch that and put so much thought into it, that's amazing. That amazes me. It amazes me. I mean, that's just proof that first of all, there's a lot of things that we like together.
Right.
And there's a lot of things that we don't. And it's interesting to me that, we had the same mother and father. we were raised in the same household, had the same rules. And but yet on some things you and I are extremely different.
Right.
Doesn't that make life interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a problem. That's a good thing. Makes life interesting. If we were all exactly the same, it'd be boring.
Right.
So you done? Are you done? Don't tell me you're going to talk some more about that movie.
I'm done.
Please don't. Okay. All right, we're done. We appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe if you like our content. If you like Two Old Geeks Talking. And stay geeky, my friend.
Later.
So we're done.
I'm done.
We're done.
I'm done.
Finally done. I'm never going to think about Labyrinth again. Or Labyrinth or whatever you say. Done. So done. So done.